Hello and welcome to News Central TV. I'm Darshan Usman. The top stories this hour. PDP crisis worsens as all three Kebbi senators defect from All Progressives Congress. Final burial rites hold for prominent Nigerian statesman Edwin Clark in his Kiabodo hometown. United Nations calls for ceasefire amidst deadly violence in Libya, with armed group leader Abdulghani al-Ikli feared killed in clashes. Details shortly. We begin with the latest political updates from Abuja, where all three senators representing Kebbi State have officially defected from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Party. That's the All Progressives Congress. Now, the defectors are Adamu Aliero, Kebbi Central, Yahaya Abdullahi, Kebbi North, and Garba Maidoki, Kebbi South. Their letters of defection were read during Tuesday's plenary session by the Deputy President of the Senate, Barau Jibrin, who presided over the sitting. APC National Chairman Umaru Ganduje was also in attendance. About 7 newly introduced constitutional amendment bills have failed to pass second reading in the House of Representatives following rejection by lawmakers through a voice vote. Now, the bills included a proposal to amend the Constitution to allow for the rotation of the offices of the President and Vice President amongst the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, as well as a bill seeking to transfer the power of political party registration and regulation from the Independent National Electoral Commission to the office of the Registrar General of Political Parties. Both were debated and rejected by lawmakers. Also rejected was a bill to alter the Constitution to provide for the establishment, independence, and functions of the offices of the State Auditors General for local government areas and the Federal Capital Territory Area Councils. Other rejected bills include a proposal to amend the Constitution to provide that the number of judges of the Federal High Court be not less than 100, and a bill seeking to create Ughelli East Local Government Area in Delta State. Another rejected proposal was a bill to alter the Constitution to expand the jurisdiction of the Federal High Court to include admiralty matters such as shipping and navigation on the River Niger, River Benue, their effluents, and other inland waterways. Today marks the final burial rites of the late Pa Edwin Clark in Kiabodo, Delta State, Nigeria, with the funeral procession now at the graveside. Now, the day's events commenced with a line in state, followed by a commendation service and other funeral ceremonies, culminating in his internment at Edwin Clark University, located in Kiabodo town. News Central's Austin Azur reports that prominent Nigerian dignitaries, including former President Goodluck Jonathan, President of the Senate Godswill Akpabio, and Secretary to the Government of the Federation George Akume, have all paid tribute to the elder statesman.
We are also thankful to celebrate a life that was truly well lived, in full validation of human dignity and dogged defense of our people's freedom and national pride. Chief Edwin Kiabodo Clark, whose mortal remains have been committed to Mother Earth today, was not just a father, leader, and patriot. He was an extraordinary human being, a pillar of our nation, an audacious voice for the voiceless, and an unflinching defense defender of justice, minority rights, and national unity. Chief Clerk dedicated the whole length of his long life to the service of his fatherland, from his early days as a teacher, as a commissioner at the state level, to his years as a federal commissioner, or later as an elder statesman. He remained a courageous and fearless advocate for equity, justice, inclusivity, and good governance. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenges and controversies." To the Clark family, the Rex family, the Niger Delta, and all Nigerians, let us honor his memory by upholding the values he stood for, which are unity, justice, equity, selfless service. May his soul find eternal rest in the bosom of the Almighty.
My presence here is, I left the Senate chambers, we are sitting, but I said I must touch Diabodo. I must touch Diabodo today to underscore the fact that we valued him whilst alive, and we value this community for producing him. The memory of Paklan will never cease from Nigerian history. We honor a man whose life and presence was very commanding as his convictions. Sir Edwin Diabodo Clark, his life was a long and purposeful journey, one that saw him rise from the creeks of the Niger Delta to the commanding heights of national influence. Sir Edwin Clark was not merely a participant in Nigeria's story, but a chapter of the very narrative that one can make out of Nigeria. He was a voice that spoke when silence was easier, a leader who stood tall when compromise was convenient, and a patron who loved the Niger Delta, loved the John Nation, loved Nigeria, and loved the minorities, not just for what he was, but for what he could become. And that is now left to us, to make this region what it should become.
We now cross over to News Central's Austin Azu, who is on standby to give us update. Your turn, Austin. Please, over to you.
Yes, we are at the family compound of late Pa Edwin Clark. Behind me, you can see the people you are seeing here actually came to pay their last respects to the leader of the Pan Niger Delta. However, he has been laid to rest at his family compound here, and we are told that this is the ancestral family compound that those who have lived on are still lying here. We have the national chairman of PANDEV, Ambassador Igalo, to bring us to speed. What likely are we going to miss about Pa Edwin Clark?
Well, we will miss one of the greatest nation builders of Nigeria. Nations are built by men of candor, men of character, men of courage, men of vision. The greatest countries in the world were built by strong men, but men also with passion and compassion and empathy. All these attributes are those that Chief Edwin Clark possessed. And when we call him Daddy, he was a father of many nations. Like Abraham, he was father of millions of people. That is why his house was open to people from all parts of Nigeria, from the east, the west, the north, and the south. Every day. And every day there was cooking and eating in his house. And but he tackled so many issues. So whatever bothered any part of Nigeria, he took it up.
Okay, now
he never forgot his Niger Delta and his Ijaw people. He was champion of those areas, but he always professed his Nigerianness. And even on the last day that he passed on, before his mouth shut forever. His last words were, "I'm a Nigerian. I love Nigeria." Those are his last parting words. That show the mindset of this great man.
The big question is that who is going to replace this big shoe that late Edwin Clark has left behind for the people of the Niger Delta?
People of like the statue of Edwin Clark are not easy to replace. It's irreplaceable. And all of us that he had left behind, his biological children, the rest of us who got close to him, we try our best to follow some of the virtues, ideals, ethos which he stood for, and work hard to make a better Nigeria. And that's what we can all try to do. And at God's own time, God will raise other people.
Thank you very much. God so kind. Another voice will come from the Niger Delta. We have Barrister Eric Omarin. Of course, please bring us to speed. You are one of the students of late Edwin Clark. What exactly will the people of the Niger Delta, particularly the youth, in terms of the voices, what are they going to likely miss from Edwin Clark?
Well, we will meet his sense of courage. Clark was a man of courage. He was a man who believed in his ideas. He was not afraid of anybody, irrespective of your status in society. He can speak truth to government, including presidents. So we will miss that voice. Today, we do not have somebody of that status, somebody that will have that sort of confidence to speak truth to government. So we miss him in that respect. We also miss his weight of knowledge. One of the significant things about our late father was that he had an extraordinary brain. He had a brain that I would call something magnetic in nature. So we miss that brain. I had a privilege of relating with him closely at some point. If you meet Chief Clark, he will tell you incident that happened 6 decades ago, 60, 70 years ago, vividly, to the roots, not just at the very level. So we'll miss that brain. But I think what is the most important for us who had the privilege of working with him, and for us from the Niger Delta and Nigerians in general, is to maintain his legacy. Maintaining his legacy, in my view, is to stand for what is right, irrespective of the interests involved. We should be able to stand for what is right. The moment we deviate from standing for the truth, we have betrayed Chief Clark.
Okay, one of the things you just mentioned is for us to emulate his legacy, and part of the activities accumulating his burial, we're expecting that something very significant will be immortalized after him. But from this burial, we have not heard anything about that. Are you surprised?
Well, I'm not surprised. Some critical decisions are not made in moment of sports, in the sports of the moment. You have to think through it. I think that those in authorities, that is part of the things that they are doing, to think through what is best for to immortalize our father. With respect to physical structures to immortalizing, some people have called for the federal government of Nigeria to take over the Edwin Clark University. They feel that is one of the legacies he left behind, and since he was a believer in education as an instrument of growth, taking over that university will also can be used to immortalize him. I do not disagree with that view, but I also think that beyond that, like I said earlier, the most important things is the principles that he lived for, not really material things, but the principles that he lived for, which is that there should be justice for everybody. Nigeria should have equity, and that is the only way we can have a peaceful and prosperous society, because you can have all the structures. If you don't have peace, they will be useless. So the principles is the most important thing.
All right, before I let you go, the unity of Niger Delta, particularly the governor emphasized it during his speech, that there's need for us to come together as the people of the Niger Delta. In what area do you think we can come together as people of the Niger Delta to fund a common front?
Again, I will say that the unity of Niger Delta lies in practicing the principles of Clarkism is a unity. Now, what do I mean by that? For the first time in the history of our people, before PANDEF was formed, our people were speaking with discontent voice, different people, different ethnic nationalities speaking. And in 2016, Chief Clark said, look, we cannot continue to speak from the different ethnic nationalities. Let us have a common platform to speak. On that occasion, at the Petroleum Training Institute, I had the opportunity of speaking on behalf of the youths of the region, and we express our commitment to have a unified front to speak for the Niger Delta people, which is PANDEF, which Clark helped in founding for our people. So I think that it's for us to build on what Clark has already done. Continue to support PANDEF to speak for our people. Also, the PANDEF leadership must be guided by the principles of Clark, which is to speak truth to power, irrespective of who is involved. So, Clarkism is the solution to unification of the Niger Delta region.
Thank you very much. Clarkism, like what he said, is it? Okay, well, of course, we hope and believe that in the coming days that the appeal made by concerned Niger Deltas in this particular area will be given speedy attention by the federal government and the state government to immortalize this late icon of the Niger Delta. Back to you in the studio.
All right, well, thank you so much, Austin, as well, for that update. Now with that, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll tell you how several aspirants protest at APC Party Secretariat in Lagos. We'll bring you details in a moment. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. And now to security matters. A horrifying wave of violence has devastated the community of Bakai in Kankara local government area in Katsina State. In a brutal act of retaliation, bandits targeted women, young, elderly and married, allegedly subjecting them to unspeakable atrocities. Their motive? To punish the community for allegedly alerting authorities to their location. Now survivors are left traumatized, many unable to access medical care due to fear and displacement. News Central visited Mabai, where most of the victims have sought a refuge. Meanwhile, the assaulted daughters remain stranded at home, unable to receive urgent medical attention they so desperately need. Earlier, we spoke with Jamil Mabai in Kankara, who was with relatives of the victims.
Behind me are some of the victims and the victims' relatives. And what happened was just like what you said, as part of revenge or punishment for the community of Bakai, whom the bandits accused of keeping security agents to go after them, and they came and cycled the town. And this time around, they were not there to kill anybody. They were not there to punish anybody, but they raped virtually all the women in the community. And the most terrifying act is very few of the women were able to escape, while many of them are left back in the village. The bandits have are protecting them from leaving the village. And here with me is one of the leader or representative of those people, who even told me that the bandits, for them now to even go there and bring out their relatives who have been raped, so that they can take them to hospital for medical attention and for various medical tests and treatments. They don't know how to do that. And even if they have, they need to buy their way in. Just like we have normal checkpoints on the road, that's what the reality is. There are checkpoints of bandits upon bandits before they can reach their community. And at every checkpoint, we will have to give the bandit nothing less than 10,000 to 20,000 naira before they can have access to these communities, and so that they can take the affected their daughters who were raped to the hospital for the checkup. And this incident happened like 2-3 weeks ago.
Quite a sad story. Now still talking insecurity, a fierce gun battle between troops of Operation Hatankai and terrorists in Iran, Kalabalge in Borno State took place in the early hours of Tuesday. Now this follows a recent attack on a Nigerian military base in Merte local government area of Borno, resulting in an unconfirmed number of casualties. Sources say the base in Merte was the target of a terrorist assault, prompting heavy fighting. The assailants were eventually forced to retreat. News Central's Umaru reports that although casualty figures have not yet been confirmed officially, Nigerian forces remain in control of Merte, an area that has long been of strategic interest to Boko Haram insurgents. The military is yet to release an official statement, while residents express growing concern over the resurgence of attacks in Borno communities. Away from security and to health, the National Orthopedic Hospital has begun operations in Jos, the Plateau State capital, to serve the north-central region of Nigeria. Now, the medical director of the facility, Professor Icha Onche, made this known in Jos during a press briefing to inform members of the public of the country of the opening of the facility. News Central's Chizoba Nyongwe tells us more.
Residents of Plateau State, Benue, Nasarawa, Kogi, Kwara, and Niger states, and indeed all health-seeking individuals, can now heave a sigh of relief on orthopedic health issues. This is due to the commencement of operations at the newly established National Orthopedic Hospital that will serve the north-central zone of Nigeria, making it the 4th National Orthopedic Hospital in the country. The facility, according to the medical director, will compete favorably with others across the globe when fully in operation.
We hope that in the days to come, we'll do all the exotic things we know around. I want to assure us that with the team we built, a lot of money being spent on travel abroad will be cut down. We have capacity to replace hips, to replace shoulders, to replace knees, and to fix any fractures available to us. That is our mandate. And by grace of God, by the time we're fully operational in due course, nobody who is going to fund himself will want to go out of this country, because we have capacity to do all this.
It is worrisome, however, that even as it commences operations, funding is being flagged as one of its major challenges.
To suffice it that my budget for this year, capital project, is 600 million naira. That's what I was given for this year. That's not like a drop in what I need. Funding is a problem. It's been difficult. We had an intervention fund from the former deputy speaker to start renovation. We are still owing money on the completion of this renovation. But like we said, it's part of our budgetary allocation for this year. We pray that will be completely funded so that we can start on a good stead.
Starting off services here with outpatients only, authorities say admission for patients would commence in a few days to come once setting up of equipment is completed and staff fully resumed. In Plateau State, for News Central, Chizoba Anyonwe.
In a major move to enhance the quality of education in Kano State, the state governor, Abba Yusuf, has flagged off the distribution of instructional materials worth 2.8 billion naira to public schools across the state. Other materials include laboratory equipment, sportswear and sports kits, books, attendance registers, and laptop computers, all aimed at enhancing both academic and extracurricular activities in schools. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
After declaring a state of emergency in the education sector with an unprecedented allocation of 30% of its annual budget to education, the Kano State government says that it will not relax in its quest to improve the standard of education in the state. These education materials being distributed to schools is a major move by the state government to match words with actions, as it has vowed to improve in its level of schools enrollment, reducing the out-of-school population in Kano State.
We are also distributing exercise books, pencils, pens, sharpeners, rulers, and whiteboard markers amounting to about 700,000. We are also providing school records, which includes attendance register, admission register, time book, and staff movement book, etc., etc.
There was clear excitement from the beneficiaries, including many school children, as they expressed their delight in the gesture from the state government.
You have settled the outstanding payment of about 2.5 billion naira in favor of 84 medical and a licensed student who graduated from Near East University.
The zonals are there, and at the various local government also we have education secretaries. So they are to ensure the judicial use of these instructional materials. So I assure you people that we are equal to the task in terms of supervision.
If somebody is tempted to divert, what is the penalty?
We are going to apply the extant civil service rules, to deal with the officer.
The governor, Abba Yusuf, reaffirmed his administration's commitment to restoring the glory of public education in the state. In Kano for News Central, Emmanuel Bagudu.
The news returns after the break. Stay with us. Now, away from Nigeria and in North Africa, violent clashes have broken out in the Libyan capital Tripoli, with thick plumes of black smoke rising as rival militias engaged in fierce fighting from Monday evening. Heavy gunfire and explosions echoed across the city, prompting authorities to urge residents to remain indoors. Local media have reported the death of Abdelghani Al-Kikli, leader of the influential support and stability apparatus in southern Tripoli. The fighting has also spread to involve armed groups from Tripoli and Misrata, fueling renewed fears of instability in a country still struggling to recover from years of turmoil following the 2011 fall of Muammar Gaddafi. Several schools have been forced to close, and the United Nations mission in Libya has issued an urgent call for an immediate ceasefire. It warned that attacks in densely populated areas could constitute war crimes under international law. In his first address to members of the media on Monday, Pope Leo XIV called for the release of journalists imprisoned around the world. He expressed solidarity with those jailed for seeking and reporting the truth, stating that their suffering challenges the conscience of nations and the international community. Earlier this year, the Committee to Protect Journalists released its 2024 annual census on press freedom, saying that 361 journalists were behind bars as of 1st December, marking the second highest figure ever recorded. The highest was in 2022, when at least 370 journalists were imprisoned for their work. To discuss this further, we're joined by journalist Turkmen Terzi in Johannesburg, South Africa. Thank you so much for joining us on the news, Mr. Terzi.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so Mr. Terzi, what are your thoughts on the Pope's remarks on the imprisonment of journalists, and how do you think that it has been received globally, especially in countries with restrictive media environments?
Yes, this is very, very important because I am a working journalist also. I am a kind of media freedom activist. I am also board member of Foreign Correspondent Association of Southern Africa. So, unfortunately, journalists have been facing lots of challenges. And even countries we call democratic countries like India or USA or partly Turkey, Europe, journalists are facing lots of challenges. So international bodies are also failing to protect journalists. Even UN is failing and others are failing. So Pope's call in the first meeting, 6,000 journalists were listening Pope. And it is extremely important because religion is playing very important role in people's life. Pope represents 1.2 billion Catholic Christian, but he is a very important person. I am sure that many countries received that message very seriously, and even we saw Trump attended Pope Francis' funeral and many others. So this call is surprising, also very important for safety of journalists.
Okay. Now, what specific messages or intentions do you think that the Pope was conveying by calling for the release of these journalists in prisons worldwide?
The importance of Pope's message, Pope tried to say to the world and the world leader that journalism is not a crime. Journalists, free speech, and media is the pillar of the democracy. So without journalism, without media, you cannot you cannot have the democracy. So many states are criminalizing the journalists. Pope says this journalism is not criminal activity. This message is very important because most of the time when you criticize the presidents of the states of the government, the laws are criminalizing you and they jailing you. For instance, many of my editors are being jailed. One just because of the TV drama. The one is exposed the government, Turkish government's illegal activities. They were supporting the militant groups, jihadist groups in Syria. So one Mehmet Baransu is my colleague. He's a very important investigative journalist. He has been in jail for 9 years. Oh. So that message is extremely important.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Now, but in your view, what impact could the Pope's advocacy, have on governments that currently detained journalists? Do you think that it will make any impact at all on the governments?
The government is not directly, start acting. Many governments jailing journalists, oppressive government. They are not going to take order from the Vatican because the Pope has no legal authority. Vatican has no legal authority over other countries. But that will open a serious discussion in countries. For instance, in Turkey, 99% Muslim. So we don't have much Christian, but it's very important center for Christianity, for Orthodox, and Pope's visiting, I think, going to visit Turkey also. So they take it, media in Turkey will take it, Pope's message very serious. In other countries, media and the government institution, the NGOs, because already NGOs welcome Pope's message very seriously. So the governments will be under pressure, but they are not going to release jail journalists immediately. But that will be very important warning to these governments.
That will be very important indeed. Now, in just a few seconds while we wrap up, can you tell us, in your opinion, what challenges journalists face today in countries where press freedom is under attack, and how you think that global voices like the Pope's would help address these challenges?
Yes, we face extraordinary times since Corona and many Ukraine-Russia war, and the journalists face many legal issues, and governments are closing down internet, online medias. So rules become very strict against journalists. So I think they are going to check their laws. So in terms of that, journalists will, I think, will have more face environment.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Terzi, for your time and for speaking to us on this. Now, away from that, Tanzania's main opposition party, Chadema, says one of its senior leaders was detained while trying to leave the country for a democracy conference in Belgium. Amani Golugwa, the party's deputy secretary general, was arrested Monday night at the airport in Dar es Salaam. He was en route to represent Chadema at the International Democracy Union conference in Brussels. The IDU has condemned the arrest as unlawful and is demanding his release immediately. Now, this incident comes amidst growing concerns ahead of October's national elections. Chadema claims the government is cracking down on dissent, with its leader, Tundu Lissu, facing treason charges and the party barred from contesting the vote. In other news from around the world, authorities in London have launched an investigation after a fire damaged the entrance of a property in Kentish Town, formerly occupied by Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Now, the early morning blaze, reported at around 1:35 a.m., was swiftly extinguished by the London Fire Brigade. No injuries were reported, although part of the entrance was affected. A 21-year-old man has been arrested in connection with the suspected arson. Police have confirmed that counter-terrorism officers are leading the investigation as a precaution. Inquiries are ongoing to determine whether the incident is linked to another fire reported at a separate North London property associated with the Prime Minister. U.S. President Donald Trump arrived in Riyadh on Tuesday, kicking off a 4-day tour of the Gulf and marking his first international trip of his second term. Air Force One touched down at the Royal Terminal of King Khalid International Airport, where Trump was welcomed with full honors, including a lavender carpet and a formal reception by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The Crown Prince's personal welcome highlighted Trump's elevated status with the Saudi leadership. Trump's visit underscores the renewed strength of U.S.-Saudi ties and signals deeper cooperation on regional security and strategic interests. For more on this, I'm joined by our international correspondent, Afia Hagen. Afia, tell us, what can we expect from the first day of Trump's visit to Saudi Arabia?
Well, it's already been a pretty busy day for President Trump and his entourage in Saudi Arabia. First, they had that meet and greet and the coffee ceremony that you saw with all the leaders there together, Marco Rubio and leaders from Saudi Arabia as well. And then there was a lunch which had a whole host of attendees from all across the United States as well as Saudi Arabia involved in that lunch. There's going to be a state dinner later on this evening, but it's the diplomatic side that has really brought results already. A number of MOUs have been signed between Saudi Arabia and the United States. One of the most significant of these is a $600 billion deal that includes the largest defense sales agreement in history. It's described as a historic and transformative agreement for both countries and a new golden era of partnership between Washington and Riyadh. There's going to be the largest defense sales agreement in history, with $142 billion providing Saudi Arabia with state-of-the-art war-fighting equipment and services from over a dozen U.S. defense firms. There's also going to be training and support as well. There's going to be a $5 billion energy investment fund and a $5 billion aerospace and defense technology fund and a $4 billion global sports asset fund. So this is really the diplomacy side of the trip coming through already. On day one, we're seeing this historic agreement between the United States and Saudi Arabia.
Well, Afia, this trip takes place, against the backdrop of wars and talks, going on around the world. Now, will this overshadow the trip?
It will overshadow the trip a little bit. I mean, it's notable that on this trip, Trump is not making a stop in Israel like he did when he went to the Middle East and during his first term, where he did make a stop in Israel. He's not doing that this time. So that is very noticeable. Also, Donald Trump has talked about perhaps stopping by Turkey on the way home on Thursday, where we are going to have Vladimir Zelensky and Vladimir Putin are meeting for those peace talks between Ukraine and Russia. So perhaps that may feature in his schedule on Thursday. And yes, of course, the ongoing war in Gaza, his team helped negotiate a tentative ceasefire between Pakistan and India. And of course, the ongoing war in Ukraine will kind of overshadow this a little bit, and there will be questions about how much diplomacy will be going on behind the scenes and how significant that is during his trip.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Afia, for that update. Now with that, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, the news continues. Stay with us. Thank you for staying. Now, U.S.-Israeli soldier Eden Alexander has been reunited with his family at a hospital in Tel Aviv after being freed by Hamas following more than 8 months in captivity in Gaza. Images released by the Israeli government show the 21-year-old arriving in Ichalov Hospital, where he is now receiving medical care. His release took place just ahead of U.S. President Donald Trump's regional visit with Hamas, describing the move as part of ongoing mediation efforts aimed at achieving a potential ceasefire. Alexander was the last known American citizen confirmed to be alive in Gaza. News of his return sparked celebrations in his hometown of Tenafly, New Jersey, while Israeli officials credited a combination of political and military pressure for securing his freedom. The development comes amid renewed negotiations involving U.S., Qatari, and Egyptian mediators as momentum builds for a broader deal to secure the release of all remaining hostages and bring an end to the ongoing conflict. China has criticized the United States over what it describes as unjustified accusations and punitive tariffs linked to the fentanyl crisis, urging Washington to stop shifting blame. Now, this comes after a recent agreement between both countries to ease tariff tensions for 90 days, reducing U.S. duties on Chinese goods to 30% and China's to 10%. However, a 20% U.S. tariff remains in place, tied to concerns about Chinese chemical exports allegedly used in fentanyl production. Beijing reiterated that the opioid epidemic is a domestic issue for the U.S., condemning the additional tariffs as a setback to bilateral cooperation on drug control and a threat to China's national interests. In business, Nigeria's external reserves have declined for the fourth consecutive month, hitting an 8-month low of $37.9 billion at the end of April 2025. Now, this $375 million month-on-month drop and the $2.9 billion a year-to-date decrease is attributed to foreign debt servicing and increased dollar sales by the Central Bank of Nigeria to support the naira amidst reduced foreign portfolio investment. FPI inflows fell to 0.5 billion naira in April from 2.3 billion naira in January. However, early May data shows a modest $163 million increase over 2 weeks. Yet, analysts caution that fluctuating oil prices pose a continued risk to reserve growth despite CBN assurances of market stability. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, here's another look at some of our top stories. We told you that PDP's crisis has worsened as all 3 Kebbi senators have formally defected to All Progressives Congress. We also told you that final burial rites have held for prominent Nigerian statesman Edwin Clark in his Kiagbodo home. We also told you finally that United Nations has called for ceasefire amidst deadly violence in Libya, with armed group leader Abdelghani al-Kikli feared killed in clashes. Remember, you may send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do you follow us on social media? We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.